Welcome back to the BERNINA Skillbuilder Sew Along with Sweet Potato Quilts. We are now working on block 3, where the focus is on making 8 at a time half square triangles. I already have all my pieces cut and ready, and I want you to notice something in the cutting chart. You will see that fabrics 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all labeled with the letter B. That's because in this block, they serve the same function and are treated in the same way. Since we're making half square triangles, or HSTs, we will be creating them 8 at a time. And because there are 16 total HSTs in this block, we will go through this process twice. To start, gather your HST squares. These are the two 7 by 7 inch background fabric squares and the two 7 by 7 inch squares in fabric 5. I'm pairing them up with one light and one dark fabric square in each set, and I've already drawn 2 diagonal lines across the back of the lighter fabric squares. Now I'm going to place each one right sides together with its darker square, and with both pairs prepped, I will take them to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of both diagonal lines. I'll meet you at the machine. Here at my BERNINA 770 QE Plus, I am starting with a leader and feeding my fabrics through right sides together. I'm sewing with a 1/4 inch seam on both sides of this first line. Instead of stopping and starting again for the second seam, I'll take the next unit right in and keep on going. It's a chain piecing method that keeps on moving smoothly. And I'll trim off this leader when I'm done, since the last seam I stitch can serve as a next leader. With a dual feed function on my machine, the fabric glides through so evenly, and all I really need to do is give the lightest touch with my fingers on top just to guide it through while letting the machine pull it straight through. It feels really secure without much effort. Now that I've stitched both seams along the first line, I will rotate the units and sew the next set of seams a 1/4 inch away from both sides of the other diagonal lines. Once I finish those, I will take everything over to the cutting station and I'll meet you there. I've got my half square triangle units ready, and now it's time to cut them apart. First, we will cut along the drawn lines to divide them into 4 pieces, and then we will cut those 4 pieces in half again to create a total of 8 half square triangles from each unit. To get the most accurate cut, use the horizontal lines on your ruler to align with the bottom edge of the unit. Then, make sure the vertical edge of your ruler runs straight through the top intersection where the seams meet. When you cut along that line, you will end up with 2 half square triangles each. I'm going to repeat the same process for the rest of these units. At this point, I have 16 half square triangle units ready to go, and next I will take them to the pressing station to open them up. For this block, I will be pressing all the seams toward the dark side, which gives a clean look and helps keep the lighter fabrics from showing through behind the seams. Once they're all pressed, your units should look like this, and according to the pattern, it's time to trim them down to 3 inches by 3 inches. On my ruler, I'll be keeping my eye on the 3-inch line along the top and left edges, and these are the 2 sides I will be trimming from. I'm also watching the diagonal line on the ruler, making sure it lines up perfectly with the seam of the block. Here's my first half square triangle. As I lay the ruler on top, I check that the diagonal seam and confirm the fabric extends past both 3-inch lines. That extra fabric is exactly what we want, and it means the block will not end up too small once we trim it. I'm going to trim the excess fabric off these first 2 edges, giving me a clean edge, and then I will rotate the block and line up the trimmed sides with the 3-inch marks and trim the remaining 2 edges. This trims away the extra fabric we saw before rotation, and now I've got a perfectly sized 3-inch by 3-inch half square triangle. Half square triangles are one of my absolute favorite units to make because they are so versatile. We've already worked through the 2 at a time method, and in this block you've seen the 8 at a time method, but did you know that there are even more ways to make half square triangles? There's also a 4 at a time method, which we won't be covering in this sew along, and even a 1 at a time method for when you just need a single half square triangle. To help you no matter what project you're working on, I've put together the ultimate half square triangle guide. In it, you will find sizing charts that show exactly what size squares to cut for whichever method you choose, whether that's 1, 2, 4, or 8 at a time. And with these charts, you can create half square triangles in any sizes you need for your projects. And once you have a stack of half square triangles, the possibilities are endless. You can arrange them in all sorts of fun and creative ways to build new designs. Look for the free download link I've shared with the sew along, and you will have a resource you can use again and again in your quilting journey. I'm back at my BERNINA 770 QE Plus, and I want to show you something helpful about the stitch plate. Whenever you need to remove it, look for the little bullseye symbol at the top right corner. Press down there and it will give you the leverage to lift it up. My go-to stitch plate is this orange straight stitch plate. Because it has the smallest needle hole, there's less chance of your needle pushing the fabric down into the feed dogs. For quilting, where I only need straight stitches, this is the one I rely on the most. And if you're working on zigzag stitches though, you will want to switch it out for the appropriate plate. When it's time to put the plate back in, anchor the left side first and then press it back down at the bullseye button. Doing it this way ensures that the plate clicks in securely every time, and it will keep you from accidentally breaking it. Here's my block 3 all pieced together. If you take a peek at the back, you will notice some seam direction arrows included in the pattern, and following those will help you nest your seams as you sew, which makes everything line up beautifully. Don't forget to grab your copy of the pattern along with the free Ultimate Half Square Triangle Guide back on the blog. That guide will give you everything you need to size and make HSTs in whatever way works best for you. Enjoy making your block and have fun sewing along!